Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Professor Weiler, for your invitation. Thanks to the Institute for this big and growing and increasing European commitment. I think that is wonderful. It's wonderful for Europe. It's wonderful for us Italians. It's wonderful for me as a member of the Renzi government and convinced and committed European. So, I mean, thank you. Thank you, everybody. It doesn't depend on the Institute, the traffic jam and the accident, but don't quote me because I would risk, of course, a lot in criticizing the traffic jam in this city for obvious reason. Isn't it, Silvia? Very, very dangerous. In the beginning was the myth, and the myth was Europa, and Europa was a woman. We know the legend of this Phoenician beautiful princess abducted by Zeus in the form of a white bull. We have read Hesiod, we read Homer. It goes back 800 years before Christ. Well, I mean, we want a completely different Europe. I mean, what we want for Europe, what we want for us, what we want for European citizens and women is something totally different. The allegory of a woman being kidnapped and her passive role in the legend is happily the farthest thing from the common values on which the European Union is founded. And is very far from the role that women are playing and must play, and we want them to play in our union today. We often evoke our founding fathers, and I think we are right in evoking our founding fathers when we talk about the commitment, the contribution of Europeans to our Europe. I think we should also start to talk more often and more explicitly of our founding mothers, because we have many founding mothers, and we should be very proud of them. Just to mention a few: Ursula Hirschman, Louise Weiss, Nilde Iotti, Simone Weil, Rita Levi Montalcini, just to mention a few among the many. And so the allegory, these founding mothers show that the allegory is very far from the Europe we have got from them, and it's very far from the Europe we want to build, based notably on equality between women and men, which is a fundamental principle since the origins in the Treaty of Rome, already in the Treaty of Rome, and we are preparing the celebration of the next year. We are a little bit concerned because there isn't too much to celebrate today around Europe. So we want to be able to celebrate next year through a more effective action in tackling the crisis we have this year, now, in these days. But I will come back very, very shortly later on this. So, since the Treaty of Rome, we have clearly committed ourselves, and rightly committed ourselves, to the principle of equality between men and women. Of course, that was for equal pay. It was a very economic treaty in its content, not in its inspiration, not in its objective, but in its content was a very economic treaty. 40 years later, 50 member states entrusted the EU with the fundamental duty to promote general equality between women and men, and I'm referring to the Treaty of Amsterdam. And much has been done since 1957 and since those treaty, from the economic approach to equal pay to a much more civic and political commitment to non-discrimination and equality between women and men. To arrive to the introduction of the general guiding principle of gender mainstreaming in all European policies, and to the commitment solemnly declared in Nice through the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the EU, which commit ourselves and gives ourselves a basis for an effective, for a new effective positive action measures. Nonetheless, we are a long way to go from living in a EU without gender and sexual discrimination. And I personally got 2 children, a boy and a girl, and I do wish a European Union offering both of them the real very real and same opportunities. And this is not the case today. So I feel a double responsibility as a citizen, as a father, but also as a member of a government, which should do much more, and we must do much more to ensure that my children, your children, our children live in a real, equal Europe from this perspective. Of course, we have done a lot. Of course, through hard work at local level, at the national level, at European level, we have made consistent step-by-step progress over the years. However, gender equality still remains unfinished business. We are far from reaching real equality, in particular in areas such as participation in the labor market. And I think that I'm well placed as an Italian to say this, unfortunately. Economic independence, pay and pensions, equality in leadership position. Silvia Costa has referred to the increasing of the number of women in European parliaments, but certainly there is a lot to do, still a lot to do that we can do to ensure that women are in a much more leadership position, and fight against gender-based violence. It is a matter of concern for all of us. Nilde Iotti was right. She was right when she was writing, over these years, millions of women have changed their lives, have done a silent revolution, demanding great changes in social models, in production, in political life, in mindset, and these profound changes now call for adequate answer up to the transformations women have set. Because women's needs are everybody's needs. And this is true for each battle for civic rights. There isn't a battle that you do for a category or for a group. When you fight for a civil right, you fight for the right of everybody. And when you make more visible the role of a citizen in society, you take them away from the gray zone, you make a society more colorful. And this is something that in any battle for civic rights we have to bear in mind. For a big group, more than half of our society as women, but also for minorities, but also for the LGBT communities, but also for foreigners, for everybody. Each time that we fight a battle for the right of someone, we fight the battle for the right of everyone. I think that this is one of the main teaching that we owe to Nilde Iotti, and we owe to all those founding mothers that they have worked so much for Europe. So let's move more quickly from words to deeds. European women unemployment rate, not satisfactory at all. 64% in Europe compared to more than 75% of men's unemployment. The glass ceiling is still there, and the gender gap in pay and pension, even in the economic sector, notwithstanding we started to work on this since 1957, is far from being closed. But the hardest gap to bridge in the EU is the gap between our common values, our principles, our formal commitment, and their implementation. Equality between men and women is one case in point, but it's not the only one. Our common principles, such as solidarity, such as respect of the rule of law, are in danger or are not fully respected, not even within our European Union. So we have to start to tackle openly this issue. We are very committed in promoting more than a debate, but a monitoring process on the respect of the rule of law within the European Union. I cannot understand, and now, as member of the government, I cannot accept that we spend night and days in studying the slightest figure in our budget, and we are very distracted when it is a matter of evaluation of our common values and or the respect of our fundamental principles within the Union. We have to learn to talk each other. We have to understand that each of other must be monitored, must be evaluated, and can be also sanctioned if does not comply with those fundamental values, which are not an option, but are the reason why we decided to build the European Union, and they are the reason why we decided to adhere, to accede to the European Union. This is a message that is true for Italy as a founding member. It is true also for all the member states who have decided to join the Union later. Rule of law is something that is something of common concern. And I am concerned as Italian if in another member state some fundamental principles are violated, and that some other member state must be concerned if in my country we don't do our best to ensure that our common values are fully respected. It is clear that the most immediate challenge is the migrant crisis. In my office there is an orange life jacket, very used. And there are a lot of telephone numbers. And there is a poetry, written in Somali language. And there is also a telephone number where it is written, in case I don't make it, please call this number and announce to this person that I haven't made it. This life jacket was the life jacket of Gula Isha, a woman, fleeing from persecution from the Horn of Africa. She made it. We saved her life. She arrived in our coast. And she wanted, through Médecins Sans Frontières, give me this life jacket. This life jacket is in my office. Each European delegation or foreign delegation or each visitor that I have, when they enter in my office, the first thing they see, it is this orange life jacket. Because this is what we are. This is what we are as Italians. First, we save life. First, we respect the dignity, which is the first fundamental right is the right to live. And this is what we must be as European. We must be much more consistent with our values. Well, like Europa, the young girl of the legend, was taken against her will from the Phoenician coast. Today, this is Lebanon, hosting more than 1 million of registered Syrian refugees. Europa was brought to Crete by the sea. This year, more than 180,000 migrants, starting from that part of the world, left as Europa left their homeland and moved to the west, to Europe. Unfortunately, there are 1,361 cases which were not so lucky as Europa. They died. And not only the Mediterranean between Italy and Libya is a cemetery of indifference and for selfishness, also the Aegean Sea has become a sea of selfishness and of indifference. That globalization of indifference that Pope Francis rightly denounced first in Lampedusa and then in Lesbos. There are many women and many children among those 1,361 human beings that didn't make it. And this is certainly the most insidious, most tricky, most challenging problem that we have to face. We have Europe as our union, our Europe as a unique opportunity now of becoming itself. Europe has a unique opportunity of becoming Europe, in becoming more effective and more consistent with our values in tackling the migratory crisis. Of course, we have also suffered the lowest point of respect for women. It was the New Year's Eve in Cologne. That was a very tricky and insidious challenge to what we are pleading to this morning. It was one of the most insidious challenges to any discourse and action for integration, for respect, for living together, for being a community. And certainly, we have to be very strong and very determined in fighting that kind of violence. However, we shouldn't forget that the most of the violence against women in Europe is made at home. And this is also something, family violence, that we have to fight. What do I want to say? I want to say that there isn't any tolerance for the violence, neither in the Cologne Square, nor in our families, and that we cannot renounce to our freedom because renouncing our freedom doesn't increase in any case our security. The answer to this kind of problem cannot be dismantling Schengen, cannot be going back to national borders, cannot be going back to national divisions, because doing this, renouncing to Schengen, renouncing to our freedom, renouncing to Europe, doesn't increase in any way our security. So we shouldn't be wrong with the answer. The answer is not go back to the national borders. The answer is work together in full respect of our values on the new common borders, which is external borders, but bearing in mind what we are and bearing in mind the principle that we have to respect. This is also the way of answering to the security threat, internal and external security threat. Security is transnational issues. It cannot be tackled with national solutions. We would fool ourselves if we thought that with national solutions we can tackle the security issues. But working for security and ensuring to each of us the fundamental right of security, which is the right to live, fight against terrorists, promoting the security, the right to security, we have also to promote the security of fundamental rights. These two things must go hand in hand. These two things must always proceed, must always proceed in parallel. And we have also to be more demanding with all those who decide to share and to live together in our community. I do believe that we have to work, this is a fundamental matter, talking about the role of women in our society. And this is why I want to address this issue this morning. We have to work for a European Islam. I'm convinced that we have and we can work for European Islam. European Islam is an Islam which is fully consistent with the Charter of Fundamental Rights. The Charter of the European Union of Fundamental Rights applies to any of us. Applies to European citizens, applies to human beings that are in Europe, applies to all the religions. And even if the freedom that we give in our Europe can be considered as science fiction in some country of origin of migrants, of new Europeans, well, we have to, in any case, grant to all those our citizens, women and men, those rights, and we have to explain that in Europe women are equal to men, and that in Europe you cannot imprison in a burqa a woman if she doesn't want to wear it. This is the way of being consistent with our fundamental values, and this is the way of ensuring the full respect of our fundamental rights. And this is the way we have to prepare, and I conclude, the 60 years of the Treaty of Rome. You will conclude your excellent 2 days with a speech of Joseph Muscat, the Maltese Prime Minister, and the speech of Matteo Renzi, our Prime Minister, devoted to our initiative also, from Rome to Lisbon and beyond. This is the way we want to prepare, promoting debate around Europe, the way of arriving to next year, 25th of March 2017, 60 years of the Treaty of Rome, not only regretting what we could do and we haven't done, but we want to go there after having given an effective answer to the current challenges and to identify and promote a new phase of political process of European integration. And I think that the relaunch of European integration that we have to prepare now, if we want it to happen in 2017, because as Altiero Spinelli used to say, Europe doesn't fall from the sky. If we want to make things happen in Europe, we have to prepare them. If we want to make of 2017 a moment of relaunch of European integration, we have to prepare it now. We have to prepare it now also with initiative like yours, also with initiative, with this transnational debate that we went to promote, where we have started in La Valletta in January. We have a very important moment in Rome in the 11th of April. Tomorrow there will be a very important moment thanks to you all. We have to prepare the relaunch of Europe. The relaunch of Europe passed through the relaunch of our commitment to rule of law, of our commitment to fundamental rights, and to thanks to the way of being grateful to founding mothers like Ursula Eichmann is to relaunch the European integration in the full respect of those values for which Ursula and other founding mothers has given their life for us. Thank you very much.